What's going on, guys? Welcome to Pack Report, your number one stop for all things Packers coverage. Today we're actually going to hop into our risers or fallers, stock up, stock down, however you want to talk about it. Winners and losers for the Colts preseason game after the fact of like who played well, who kind of rose their stock and probably lost some stock during this game. I'm going to have 3 players on the up and 3 on the down. There is one that's a little bit iffy, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to start with the up just to stay on a positive note, but we're going to start with the 3 players that I think kind of rose their stock after this preseason game. The first player I have is Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson, even though he probably was slotted as the RB3, RB2 debatably, it's pretty weird that they keep trying to get, like, obviously they spent a 3rd round pick on Marshawn Lloyd, so they're trying, you can tell even within the reps in the preseason game, they were trying to get him the ball, like, they're trying to make him the number 2 back, but with Marshawn Lloyd just not being able to stay healthy and even got hurt in this game, and it later came out that he is going to miss some time and potentially some regular season time as well. You have Marshawn Lloyd as a change of pace. You have Chris Brooks as a 3rd down, like pass blocking back. Emmanuel Wilson's probably the 2nd best runner of the football though, which is weird because they're not like he's really slated, like there's not really a role for him, because I mean having a guy like Josh Jacobs, he's going to take majority of the carries. He really doesn't need too much of a backup. It's really just like Marshawn Lloyd being that change of pace and then being a pass blocker with Chris Brooks. But with the injury to Marshawn Lloyd, that's pretty unfortunate. That does obviously raise Emmanuel Wilson's stock a little bit, and he did play really well in this game. Like he doesn't do anything too flashy, but he is just a really good runner. Like he's really fast for his size, I believe, and he just knows how to run the ball. So with the injury to Marshawn Lloyd and him playing well, I believe he is going to go into the season being running back 2 again, even though that's not really what the Packers envisioned, but he's been playing well, and I think that's his role from now on. The next player I got up here is Jordan Morgan. The 1st round pick from last year, the fans were I heard some fans kind of being down on him just because he got hurt last year. I didn't really get the criticism because, I mean, he didn't really get a chance to play. He wasn't the flashiest at guard, but I don't really think that's his true position, and I think the Packers know that too. Him playing left tackle this season in training camp, in preseason games, the dude's been locked down. I mean, he hasn't played anyone too crazy, but against the Colts, he played Latu, who was a high draft pick and a pretty decent edge, and he held his own more than well enough. I don't even believe he's let up a pressure in the preseason, and earlier in training camp, he was kind of getting ran through by like Lucas Van Ness and like having trouble anchoring down, but he's kind of fixed those problems on the fly, which you'd love to see. Like he's using his hands a lot better and punching and re-punching after, even if he doesn't get the strike right away, he resets his hands a lot better than last year. And you can tell he's definitely working on anchoring down for those power rushers that he was having a little bit of trouble with earlier in the season. Him and Rasheed Walker are going to have a battle at left tackle. I believe they are just going to rotate at left tackle, which is pretty unorthodox. You don't see many other teams do that, but the Packers have famously done that. Even last year with Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan, they did it. So I think they're honestly going to rotate at left tackle. Obviously, you hope Jordan wins the job just because he is a 1st round pick, but with Rasheed going into his last year of his deal, you really don't need him to, but if he ends up winning the job, it is what it is. Pretty unfortunate for Walker going into his last season because he's going to have to, we're not going to pay him. He's going to have to get paid elsewhere. Hopefully he gets enough tape to get put out there to get paid, but I kind of do see Jordan winning this job halfway through the year. The last stock riser I had on my list, I mean, there was a couple I could have went with, but I went with Julian Hicks. This receiver room is loaded when healthy, but with the receiver room being just absolutely fried right now, everyone's hurt, it seems like. Julian Hicks had a really nice game, and he's been having a decent training camp throughout. I figured I'd just throw him on here. I don't think he's going to make the roster, to be honest. We could probably get him back on practice squad, but he just played so well not to put him in this list. And he does kind of raise his stock past guys like maybe McCold Hardman. McCold Hardman does have the special teams ability, which is really nice to be our punt returner, but he honestly hasn't been looking that great, especially with the fumbled punt last preseason game. If we go into a game with injuries and he's our 4th, 5th receiver, I think that's perfectly fine, to be honest. I mean, you're obviously not thinking Julian Hicks is going to be your number 2 or 3, but going into a game with him on the roster as your 4 or 5 if injuries happen, I think he's more incapable of holding his own. So definitely raised his stock there and has a chance to, I don't think make the 53, but I think we could get him back on practice squad, and we'll probably choose him over guys maybe farther down the depth chart. Now the guys I believe kind of hurt their stock. They just did not have that many good games. And the first one being Donovan Jennings. I would be surprised even with this offensive line depth, which I thought was going to be a strength going into the year, but kind of looks pretty bad. If Donovan Jennings makes this team, I'm going to be really concerned about this O-line room just because he played abysmal. Like, The rest of the line even looked pretty solid. It was kind of a makeshift O-line. Sean Ryan was at center, and just kind of a thrown together. Anthony Belton at right tackle, Jordan Morgan at left tackle. I think Jacob Monk was at right guard, and then Donovan Jennings at left guard. And all of them pretty much did pretty well against that Colts starting defensive line. I mean, they didn't get too much of a push for the run game, but pass protecting was fine, except Donovan Jennings. That dude was getting targeted. Any game or stunt they ran to his side, he just looked lost. I don't know what was going on. I believe he gave up back-to-back almost sacks, or even for sure pressures. I believe they turned out to be sacks just because Malik got out of them, but he had an awful game. I don't want to bury the dude too bad. He could have just had a bad game, but he hasn't looked that great. So I would honestly be surprised if he makes the 53. The next guy I have up is Isaiah Simmons, and it's just really unfortunate he hasn't looked that great. I mean, this is kind of his track record in past 2 stops he's been at, but I figured getting with Jeff Hafley and kind of simpling it down to him just being a linebacker and giving him easier stuff might slow the game down for him and allow him to play pretty fast, but this is the second game in a row he just looks lost in pass coverage, to be honest. And I mean, he's still pretty early in the system and he can grow and stuff, but I think the vision of him being that third linebacker is kind of out of the question now, and I think he strictly will be a special teams player to at least the beginning and the mid of season, unless he really picks up in pass coverage. He just looks lost, to be honest. There's a clip on, I might be able to pull up on screen of him just being completely lost in coverage in that first game. It's not the preseason second game, but even in the second game, he was pretty lost. In the middle of the field, was getting exploited quite a bit. I think everyone would love for him to figure it out just because he is such a great athlete, and I think his potential is really high, but that's kind of been the message at his past 2 stops. So I mean, hopefully Green Bay's able to unlock his talent, but at worst case scenario, he's going to be a good special teamer for us. And the last stock down guy I have is kind of iffy, but it's going to be Anthony Belton. He did have a really rough first half with the penalties, and I believe some of those were kind of ticky-tack. I think it was kind of iffy if they should have called it, but he definitely struggled in the first half with penalties. But I believe in the second half, he came out and actually had a pretty solid day, but he did kind of lose his stock a little bit because I believe some people were kind of thinking maybe he could get in there. Maybe I think he's the swing tackle right now besides Jordan or Rashid. I personally think they should start playing him at guard and try to battle for that right guard position, because even though Sean Ryan's solid, I think Anthony Belton, if he got down the technique, would be a really good guard, especially how he blocks in the run game. We just don't really have a dude on the offensive line like Anthony Belton, and kind of never have. We've never really had a mauler in the run game, just like offense linemen. We just have good pass blockers, kind of finesse guys that get out and move in our zone scheme. We don't really have a downhill gap scheme, maul people over pancake block dude. For the first time, that's Anthony Belton. I think he should be playing guard, but we'll see what they do. I think they're kind of just playing him at tackle right now because I think they kind of overloaded Jordan Morgan last year with playing guard, and now like you see him playing left tackle and he's doing really well. So I think they're trying to learn from those mistakes and just trying to let him get comfortable at right tackle. But I do think that they will move him to guard eventually, and I think they should. But yeah, his stock did hurt a little bit because I believe that he probably was in the mix as that like 6th, 7th offensive lineman. He probably still is, but I don't know. He just didn't have that great a game. Hopefully he bounces back. Could have just been a rough one with penalties and stuff. I think he's going to be really good. And I think hopefully he eventually takes that job from Sean Ryan. If not this year, the next. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Let me know who you guys thought rose their stock, or if someone I'm missing dropped their stock. And yeah, look out for highlights and all that type of coverage for the Packers. I'm going to start posting all that stuff soon. Just want to get this video out. I am a little late on it, but hope you guys check it out. And there's going to be future pre-game, post-game highlights covering training camp and news, all that type of Packers stuff. So if you want to keep up with all things Packers, like the video, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you.